is Eli David. I'm the CEO of Startup Link. It's a global startup ecosystem map. And yeah, let's have a look if we have more people that volunteer. Currently, it's only Andrea. So Andrea, I'm gonna take 2 more minutes and I'm quickly gonna introduce a little bit the project that we're working on. So I'll just let you know that we're working on Startup Link. It's a global startup ecosystem map. Let me just show you how it looks like if we're already here, and I'm still giving opportunities for people who want to pitch to, there is a lot of you here, by the way, we're 31 people. So how can it be that only one wants to pitch? So I'm still giving opportunities for people. You can, by the way, freestyle. Usually we want a presentation, but if you feel like receiving feedback, you can also freestyle. So just let me know in the Q&A. And let me quickly show you what our project is all about. So just a minute. I'm going to share my screen. Super. So what you see over here is the map that we built. This is basically a global startup ecosystem map and a research center. We have about 70,000 startups on the map. It's free to add your startup, so you can add it for free. The most important part of what we're building is actually the rankings below the map. So if you go to startuplink.com, what you're going to see, we've built an algorithm that ranks the startup ecosystem in 1,000 cities and 100 countries. And the most important message that we have for you is the following. You have to choose very carefully where you're starting your startup, and a lot of you are now starting their startup. So it's really good to take a minute and to think if you're in the right place, because the place where you're starting your startup is going to have a major impact on your success. Startups hubs are producing better startups, not only invested startups, but also bootstrap self-funded startups. Where you are matters. So if you go to startuplink.com, again, register your startup, and it's going to also affect the ranking of your city and the country that the next report is coming next month. But in addition to that, you can also browse 1,000 cities and see if you're in the right place. And that means that, let's say, if you're, let's say, only, you know that you want to stay only currently in Australia, so you can also put Australia here, and then see in the checkbox what's coming up in an ecosystem in Australia. So the idea is that 1,000 cities, there are many, many selections. Make sure that you're in the right ecosystem. That's a little bit about us. And now we're ready for our pitching. So Andrea, you're gonna go first, and yeah, let me promote you. And there is still time for the 35 people. Now we're 35 people. For if one of you wants to pitch, Q&A button, you can look at how Andrea is doing it, and then basically, according to that, get a little bit of courage. It's a very unique opportunity to get a lot of feedback, so I recommend it. Andrea, if you're ready, we're going for it. So, by the way, Andrea, thanks a lot for volunteering. You saved the event, so super great. And yes, let me have a quick, Andrea, I'm promoting you to become a panelist. So let's see if it works. Yes, it works. Excellent. We can see you. And now we can even hear you. That's great. Where are you calling from?
Colombia.
Ah, nice. Which city in Colombia? Bogota or Cali or?
Bogota.
Nice. Okay. Bienvenida. Great. So,
Thank you.
So we can also see your screen, and go for it. Good luck. You have 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Sandra Buitrago, and I'm one of the founders of gCrystal. gCrystal is a framework for developers to build high-performance and scalable multi-platform applications faster. So why did we decide to create this tool? Well, first and foremost, because we are developers, and we started noticing that coding was becoming sometimes very repetitive and sometimes very time-consuming, meaning that even the simplest task required long piece of code and complex piece of code. So we also know that the more code lines we write, well, the more bugs do we insert in them, and in the long run, that costs more time and more money. This is true for largest software, but is especially true for multi-platform applications, where you have to repeat the same code in Android, iOS, and web applications. So we decided to create a tool to help developers be faster. We know that there are plenty of backends and frontends stacks out there, but none of them leverage the capabilities of automated code generators. That's why we decided to create a tool based on code generators. It works kind of like a 3D printer. In a 3D printer, you have a design, and from that design, well, you create an object. Sorry. So that's JCrystal. You have a kind of a design and a code design, and from that design, you create, well, a code. JCrystal generates code for you. Sorry. So our value proposition is to speed up multi-platform development by reducing coding time without impacting customization and performance. Because we also know that there are tools to build fast prototypes, MVPs, but none of them think in the long run. We want to be able to build products that can scale and that have high performance. That's our focus. Our product works, as I explained, like a 3D printer. You have a design code that you write, and JCrystal generates even more code for you in Android, iOS, Angular, jQuery, and you can use that code to build your application faster. We have had product validation. We use it as an internal tool inside a software development company to build about 6 projects, very different projects, a pet shop, a video conferencing application, and we had about $200,000 in revenue on that project. So it's really a useful tool to build different kinds of products. Our market size, there are about 24 million developers around the globe, and we plan to target mobile developers, which is half of them, and we plan to get 1% of them, which is 120,000 developers. Our business model is a freemium model where we have a free stage, a free layer, sorry, that you can access for free, and a premium stage that costs $25 a month that have complex functionalities and complex code generator. That will give us about $36 million a year. There are plenty of competitors out there, but since I think I'm getting a little short of time, I'm going to go to our competitive advantages. We're, first of all, multi-platform oriented. We are oriented to high performance and scalable applications because we want to be able to build not just MVP, but long-lasting products. We want to build highly customizable solutions. And finally, we want to boost programmers, don't replace them. This is our team. We are super passionate programmers. We have worked as a team for over 4 years. We have both entrepreneurial experience, and above all, we love to code and build software. Thank you. That's JCrystal. I'm not sure what should I do.
Nice. No, that's where I'm coming into the picture. Okay. Really good. By the way, nice recovery from the phone and everything. It's really great that life is pushing surprises our way in the middle of the pitching event. So you dealt with it super great. You didn't lose your focus. Excellent. So Andrea, I'm kind of wondering, first of all, before we're going to go to the feedback from people, and please, people, Andrea is here. She was courageous enough to arrive here to receive feedback from you. So feedback in the chat, please. What did you think? What can Andrea improve? What was good? What can be made better? What was unclear? Whatever comes to mind, let's help Andrea with as much feedback as possible. Andrea, you're currently, when you're doing those pitches, who are you going to pitch for, let's say, in those coming months? Are you going to pitch for investors to get more clients to the platform? What's your main goal of pitching now, let's say?
Okay, right now we're looking for 2 things. First, clients, definitely. We want to be able to build a base of users. We currently have about 30 users, but we want to grow them. So definitely a sales pitch, but also we're trying to look for a seeds investment. So that's also our goal.
Good, excellent. So going back to the people in the chat, and we have a lot of you here, Andrea is going to speak with prospective clients and try to convince them to use JCrystal. And in addition to that, Andrea is also going to try to get seed investment. And that's your role now, to give Andrea as many tips as possible about what she can improve in the pitch, because she's not necessarily here to say, to hear that everything is perfect and whatever. She's here to basically improve her pitch. So when it's really, really important, she can make a perfect pitch. So we're going to go to the feedback very soon. Andre, I'm kind of wondering, do you want me to ask people, I can ask people in the poll one of the following questions. Was there enough pain, or let's say even was it clear? Was the product clear to you? What would be better for you for me to ask in the poll?
Sorry, what were the two questions?
So the two questions, the first one is there real pain? The product is solving real pain. And the other one, if people thought that your presentation was clear, if they understood it, let's say, if they understood the product, if they understood the value proposition. You want to start maybe with was it clear, for example, just to know how is the pitch? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the second one is I like it more.
Okay, so we'll do was it clear.
Thank you.
So what we're asking now, everyone here, is did you understand? Was the product clear? Did you understand the value proposition? Are you, after you heard Andrea, are you sure what J Crystal is doing, and did you get it? So as we're waiting for your results, the most important thing is feedback on the chat. So we're going to go very, very soon to feedback on the chat. I'm going to allow 5 more seconds for people to vote in the poll before we go to the chat feedback. Excellent. Okay, so I'm sharing the results in 2 seconds. Let's see. And we have relatively optimistic results. So that's great. The majority here, 57% says yes. You do have 43% that says so. We're a little bit confused. So maybe, look, you always have to adjust your slide to whoever you're pitching to. Maybe in this case, not many of us are technical here. It might be worthwhile to take it down a notch, from the technicalities and tell us about the challenges of developers and so on. But other than that, it was relatively good. So great. And yeah, let's try to have a look at a little bit of the feedback. So just a minute. Wow, we have a lot of feedback. That's great. I'm not sure we're going to have time to go over everything. So Andrea, what I always recommend people here is to copy paste. Yeah, good. So Luis, first of all, is giving you a really good feedback with a question. Did you say what you were pitching for? And this is something that I also asked you. The idea, Andrea, is that always when you pitch, you want to make it clear what is the ask. So for example, you can say, look, we're looking for $100,000 to develop the product. Or you can alternatively say, hey, we're looking for people to test the product and we have a free premium and you're all invited. But whatever you're trying to achieve in a pitch, try to push it. Try to be in a situation that everyone knows what are we looking for exactly. So that's great feedback from Luis. Good. SD is saying that this was excellent overall. A few things that were not so clear, the competitive advantages were not so clear. So SD had the problem, although you went over it, but maybe you can make it a little bit more, wow, okay, now I'm getting it, why I should use J Crystal. There is no way I'm using anything else. And how big is the market? So again, and I want to say something about feedback. Feedback, you don't have to take all of it like the Bible. Try to figure out, usually the repeating feedback is the best because you see that the things that keep on repeating, they're good. So thanks SD for that. Angelica, just like SD, is saying that this was a good overview of the project. Angelica is a little bit wondering about what is the target group and how do you find them. So a little bit, maybe that's a little bit of feedback that might say, maybe it wasn't that clear. Who are we targeting? Who are we really solving pain for? Like who is the group that's going to say, well, we really need J Crystal. So that could be something and Luis is recommending to you, Andrea, to prepare 2 different pitches, one for investors and one for clients. So the clients one should probably focus more on the value proposition. The investor one should probably focus more on the market potential and why it's a really good investment. I think it's a relatively good advice. So not to arrive with the same presentation to both of them. You're probably going to do it anyway, but just as a side note. Don is saying that 5 minutes for pitching would be more informative. I agree, especially since we have no one else to to volunteer, so it's too
Can do
late.
it.
But Andrea did a good job in 4 minutes as well. SD is also, it was missing for him to understand what language is the main code written in before it gets translated to iOS. I'm not sure it's relevant for everyone, but developers might want to know, so that's great.
Yeah, I always feel that I do or a very technical presentation or a very non-technical presentation where the people don't understand how we do what we do. So I find myself always conflicting with those kinds of presentations. So sorry.
No, it's great. I guess it depends on the crowd. And over here, you pick the less technical because you knew that the crowd is very general from all over the place. And I think it was a good decision. Yeah, so yeah, Benedict is saying basically that this was an excellent presentation, and if you are targeting investors, then it would make sense to kind of say how much you need and what you're going to use it for in a separate slide or somewhere. So that's great. Carlos is saying that maybe it could add value if you could quantify the amount of percentage saved of the amount of time in percentage, like, and I totally I agree a little bit, like instead of just saying, look, this is doing this XYZ, if you have a little bit of examples or a case study or something that shows, look, we checked this and this is going to save you 20% of your time, pretty powerful, especially for self-pitch. So other than just saying those are the benefits, you can kind of say, look, we checked, just like Carlos said, it saves 20% of your time. And people will make the math in their head and they're saying, whoa, 20% of my time is worth a lot of money. So something interesting. Daryl is saying that this is a very interesting product and presentation. No big issues with your pitch, well constructed. That's great. Let's see. Yes, BJ is saying again the thing about you always have to check who is the target market or who is the person listening to this speech, and here you did a really good job. Yeah, Darren is saying that again, if you're raising funds, we need a clear fundraising target. How much and what's going to use what's going to be used for. So yeah, so the investors' pitch has to be different. Daryl is talking about what's the roadmap for the investor, what's the I'm not sure. Usually in pitches, I don't see a lot of people saying, but yeah, you can kind of say we're willing to give 10% of the company for 100K and so on. So for investors, it's a little bit different. And it's more like, look, you should invest in this now because this could be a very big thing.
Definitely missing that.
Yeah, and Darren says that Darren is saying that a little bit he missed the milestones of, okay, this is where we are now. What are we going to do? We're going to focus on the Colombian market, then we're going to go to the South American market, then we're going to go to the USA, Europe, or whatever. So kind of a little bit the strategy, the future strategy of the company can be relatively useful here. Yes, and the role is talking a little bit about market segmentation. For example, 1% of all mobile developers is very general, according to Raul. So maybe some specific quality of developers by their skill level and so on. So basically, Raul is recommending more focus because he's saying, look, the developer market is so big and the mobile development market is so big and so different that let's try to understand who are we really solving the problem for. And then basically later you can expand to other verticals, or you can say, look, it's for all mobile developers, but Raul is kind of pushing you into understanding who is this really solving its pain. And that's basically something that you can know because you have $2,000 already made, you know who is using it, you know who paid for it. Maybe you can find a specific profile of all of those that is in common. And then you can say, oh, this crowd needs us more than anyone else. So that's a good example on that.
I have a bit of issues with that because it's very hard to find statistics on market size, especially on developers. It's kind of hard, but thank you. Yeah, I'll try to improve that.
Yeah, and the idea, usually how you do it is just fanatically speak with whoever bought the product. and just tell them, hey, why? What was the main reason? And so interviews with whoever is interested, just to understand what's the problem. So, and especially if they pay, that's even better. Yeah, Alex is saying that he missed a little bit more information about the milestones achieved. Like, where are we now? Okay, we know that you sold $2,000, but where? In which country? What did we do until now? What did we develop? Is this way above the MVP stage? If this is running, maybe show us a case study. So it was a little bit abstract in which phase exactly is the project now. So Alex is saying, talk to us a little bit about what was achieved, let's say, until now. So that's good. Good. So let's see if you have too much feedback. We're not. But
Yes,
let's see.
thank you,
Let's see
thank
if
you.
yeah. But actually, we can continue until someone volunteers to pitch, because you're basically the last one. So we can continue with the feedback. I'm still looking at the Q&A. People, we have more than 30 people here. There is no way everyone is scared from the virus and they can pitch. Andre is not the only courageous person here. Q&A button, if you want to pitch, we still have room for one more. Let's see. Yeah, you have the same from Darren that says, look, you need to say exactly how much money and for how much. Well, I guess it's relatively, again, for investors, it would be a different pitch, and that's totally okay. You have feedback from Mariano that says that he thinks you need to be a little bit more specific about what J. Crystal will replace in the development project. Basically, Mariano says that when he heard you, he felt like J. Crystal is basically about front end, but looking at the site, it's back end. So, like the idea is that Mariano is saying it's too much. It relates to what Raul is saying. It's for everyone, and you don't want it for everyone because you're a small company still, and you have to figure out maybe a smaller niche instead of we're everything for everyone. And it's a little bit problematic. So something to think about. Stefan is saying that this was a super exciting pitch. He was missing as well, and this was said before, competitive advantage that is really compelling. That someone is saying, "Whoa, okay, I know why J. Crystal is special." So Stefan was missing that, and the scope as well. How much you're going to handle for him, what can I interface with, will it do data modeling and so on. So the idea is that for your users, and that could be really interesting questions that they're kind of saying, okay, I have to make a decision. Tell me more, what can this do other than a general view in a way. So it would make it more technical, but it might be worthwhile if you're speaking directly to developers. Let's have a look. Yeah. So we have a lot more. I'm not sure we're going to have time. So I definitely recommend to copy paste all of those. And yeah. But Luis is saying something important, Andrea, that basically you always have to remember if you're doing investor pitch, investors usually are not developers. So you do have to keep it on a non-technical level. They can be accountants, dentists, whatever. So yeah, that's something to think about. Benedict is repeating again something that was said before, that they're not so clear how far the product is developed. And again, Andrea, this is really important, the milestones, like show us what was achieved. Like basically, what do we have? How developed it is, how ready it is, what's missing maybe for future development and so on. But the idea is that when you're pitching to a prospective client, you kind of want to show them what can it do for you right now in a way. So that's something to think about. Just a second. Oh, you have very long feedback here from Joe, so I totally recommend to copy paste it. But just from a glimpse, it seems like something of again, something that has to do with the case studies, examples, like real examples of how was this applied to people's work. And that was missing. That was very general and not so much focused on how can this apply for people. So Joe is kind of showing you how to build kind of a case study of a person that is using this and how did it solve and make their work a little bit better. Yes. I think that you got a lot of feedback here, Andrea, and I think you can really, everyone is agreeing that this was a good pitch, first of all, so that's really, really good news. But it can definitely go up a level. So I'm hoping that this feedback can be relevant for you. And that's basically it. So yeah, thanks a lot for arriving. You can put, by the way, Andrea, in the chat the link to your project so people can
Thank you.
have a look. And yeah, thanks for having the courage and saving the event. We really appreciate it. Okay, so good. Keep on building. That's the best thing. Good.
Thank
So
you
good
for
luck.
the opportunity.
Super. Great. So. We're basically without people that pitch. Do you want, we already had 40 minutes. This was long because we got so much feedback, and I want to thank everyone for arriving and giving Andrea so much feedback. Does anyone else want to pitch? It can be a freestyle about a project that currently exists. So I'm giving you 5 seconds to see if someone here is interested in feedback. And as you've seen, Andrea had got a lot of feedback, so it's worthwhile. And if not, I think that we're pretty much done for today. So good. So I think we're done. Okay, so that's good. We're going to do another event in about 2 to 3 weeks. So hope to see you here. And Andrea, I'm going to share your link again just to make sure that people got it. So this is a message from Andrea. And that's it. So people, stay safe, stay happy, healthy, and we will see you again soon. It was a pleasure, and see you next time. Bye-bye. Have a good one.